Hi everyone, thanks for joining me today. Today I'll be doing a tropical layout and I've got some bonus footage for you. So stay tuned for that as I show you how to get these beautiful glittered shells. So today I wanted to start with some photos that I had from the cruise that my husband and I took last winter. And I'm going to be starting with a page maps sketch. This one here was designed for a vertical, but what I'm going to do is flip it on its edge, make it a horizontal sketch, and make it my own. So if you want to see how I do that and the bonus footage, please make sure to stay tuned to the end and subscribe to my channel so that you can be notified of all the future layouts that I'll be doing similar to this one, and you can learn how to do them as well. So I know that I have this beautiful weathered wood page. This is all from Seize the Day by Close to My Heart. So I'm using those, but I know that I want to back these photos because that paper with all the seashells and the crabs and things is really busy. So I want to make sure that those photos stand out on their own. I tried the red paper with the anchors, but the red on the cruise ship is actually more of a cherry color and they just kind of clashed. So I don't think I'm going to use that. But I have this paper that also comes in the collection, and it's kind of waves on a white background and it looks really cool. So I think, okay, I'm going to try backing the photo with this way. And the added bonus of that is that these little waves being the backing for the photo end up sort of being not only a backing for the photo to set it apart from the paper, but also as a little embellishment on its own. So it's going to look really cool. So I'm going to back those, and then I think to myself as well that I might want to take these 3x3 photos and back them too. But I don't have quite enough on the same page, and I'm not willing to sacrifice any more of this paper for just photo backing. So I'll find another way to back those. You'll see that I really like this weathered wood that is also in part of the collection, but it's just too dark for these photos. I need to do something different to lighten them up a bit. So I'll get to that in a minute. So I'm going to cut off this backing for this photo. And I want it to be fairly chunky. It's not so much a photo backing as it is sort of an additional layered paper almost with the size that I left it. So, and as I turn around, I realize I forgot to cut off the branding strip. So I'm going to do that next really quickly. So I have these chipboard pieces that I got from Creative Embellishments that are seashells that I knew I wanted to use with this. And the collection itself comes with some really cool stickers, so I wanted to use those. I also found some die cuts that I made using my silhouette for some photos that I had taken a while back. And they've been sitting in my drawer, and finally they're getting used. So you'll see how I actually take the white cardstock of those and change it up and make those stand out as embellishments on the page. So I decided what I was going to do is I'm going to take these 3x3 photos, I'm going to back them with some very thin cardstock, white cardstock, and I'm going to give them just a thin border. And then once I've got those backed, then I'm going to put them onto the weathered wood. So I'm going to lay them down and then just cut the border here. And I really liked how these photos turned out. Originally I wanted to keep them a little bit larger, but the end product, they're just the right size, and I think they kind of tell the whole story. They were taken at Tortola Pier Park, which is in the British Virgin Islands, where we had a lot of fun and we went snorkeling there. So here I'm going to back them now onto the weathered wood, and you'll see how it lightens them up just a little bit now, so that weathered wood doesn't darken the photos even more. But it gives it more of a nice, something to set them off again against that really busy paper. So what I'm going to do with this paper as well, because it's, you know, so busy, and then I've got, you know, the background paper is this sort of fishnetting look. So I'm going to make sure that I ink all of my pages, and I'm going to use this Faded Jeans Distress ink from Tim Holtz, and I'm going to use that. I always pull out, or I try to pull out, a piece of wax paper and use that underneath my papers. It has two purposes. Number one, it protects my desk, and the second advantage is that it doesn't soak into the waxed paper, the excess distress ink. So sometimes if I don't need a lot of distress ink, I can just pick it up again with the sponge off the wax paper. You'll see me do that, and then I can just start again. So it's a way to sort of save yourself some supplies. I mean, I don't know anybody who's actually gone through an entire ink pad of distress ink, but you know, you never know, you might want to save some. So I'm inking all of this. I love that the Faded Jean is actually the perfect color to go with this, because that weathered wood is really a denim kind of color. Then for the photo of my husband, I'm just going to lightly edge this. So I'm just distressing it with my dabber here. I thought I would just run the paper along the edge, but it wasn't giving me the same effect that I wanted, so I'm just going to give a little bit more of a rub there. I'm going to do the same thing with the papers. Even though the weathered wood is sort of the same color, there are areas where the weathered wood is faded, so that's going to give it a unifying effect. And then here I have one of those die cuts that I was talking about, where I had cut it out on white cardstock for my silhouette, but I want it to stand out as well. And I've already pre-cut a piece of that weathered wood that's going to back it. So I'm just going to take my Scotch quick dry glue, and I'm going to dot the different areas on the text to back this. You could do it with the Scotch quick dry like I have, with just dabbing, or if you have something a little more intricate, you can use something called sticky specs, and I'll show you later in the video how to use that. So I'm not worried. This was a die cut that has a spot for journaling, but what I'm actually going to do is layer it underneath one of the photos. I wanted it to be sort of a large journal cluster, or a large cluster. It's not going to be the title though, so you'll see how I do that later. So the sketch also shows that you need another couple pieces of paper underneath that, this, I guess I'll call it the shell paper. It's got shells and coral and starfish and crabs and everything. So I'm taking some of that paper from what I had backed the larger photo with, and I'm going to use that as well. So I'm going to ink that onto once before I put it onto the paper as well. And so I'm going to get started on gluing down these papers. So the sketch says that this has to go sort of midway. So I'm just going to line this up, make sure that that looks right for me, and run my tape runner. Make sure I get a really good adhesion on this paper. And I'm just going to line that up and eyeball it. So it's about midway. And then the photo is going to stick out a bit on the top. I'm going to just, I need to ink the bottom, but what's kind of neat about choosing the same paper that I backed the photo with is that it's kind of, it's giving a continuous kind of effect, even though they are two cut up pieces of paper. But it is going to kind of give it that continuum from the top photo down to the bottom of the page, and draw the eye a little bit further down. And again, because of these little waves that are on it, it kind of creates, it's, you know, more than just a paper. It's like a little embellishment as well. So this is how I'm going to line up the photos and the die cut. but I need some extra little embellishments on the bottom. So one of the branding strips had this backing that I really like in the navy. Then I have the die cut of the waves that I'm definitely going to use and layer on top of that. And I have this title, which is Cruising, that I'm going to be using. I'm not sure where it's going to go, but I'm pretty sure that in the end, I'm going to end up putting it down, layering it along the bottom with all those layered papers. The nice thing about using these die cuts is that on cardstock is you don't really have to prep them much. If you want to use them white on some dark cardstock, you can do that, or you can just use some sprays, and that's what I'm going to do. So first I'm going to actually layer some distress ink on the edges of this paper to match the paper on the large 4x6 photo. Then once I've got that done, then I'll take a look at getting those other layers colored. First things first, I'm going to actually I'll put down the 4x6 because I know that's going to be just backed straight onto the paper. Now when I'm backing photos, or put my photos down, I generally don't glue the edges so that I can tuck things around. So you'll see that I put the top and the bottom, I put more of the glue toward the edge, or the tape runner toward the edges, but I do try to kind of stay away from gluing the edges down because I like to tuck embellishments under the photos, and I do that this time around. The nice thing though is that with this edge runner I can pull it up if I need to. The other photos I want to pop up for some extra dimension because I'm not going to be using a ton of really heavy dimensional objects. So I do want those photos to stand out. They're a little bit darker, and popping them up is going to make them stand out more to the eye. Then I'm going to just find some other glue dots. These ones are Helmar Zap dots. That'll tell you how old these are. They're a little bit thicker in dimension than even the one that I used for the photo of me. So there's going to be some extra dimension there. Again, the other advantage of using the pop-up dots for the photos, like I did with these 3x3s, is that you have a ton of room where you can tuck in other embellishments. And I know I'm going to have a few embellishment clusters, so I want to be able to have the flexibility of throwing in those embellishments anywhere around those photos. So I'm going to put down this other paper that's going to go underneath, just tuck underneath the photos, line it up with the other paper, and it looks almost as if it's come, gone into the shell paper and then back out again when you look at the layout later. So I'm just going to pull these off. I always have a hard time with these. And even though Charlotte gave me a great idea, one of my subbies, for pulling off the backings using the cleaning tool that you have for silhouette, I still find it difficult sometimes and fumble around. Sorry for getting into the frame there. My camera's doing funny things with me, and I'm like, anytime I need to really get a good look, I just kind of can't help myself. I got to get into frame here. So then I realized, okay, the paper that I put in the backing just doesn't look right. It doesn't look like it went down straight. So I'm just going to eyeball it. Get that down there a little bit better. And then it'll, even though I'm looking at it on camera and I'm going, yeah, it doesn't look quite straight, but in the end, it's not really going to matter. There's going to be things over top of it, but at the time it was just driving me crazy. So now I'm going to take some of that paper backing that was from the branding strip that was on the Close to My Heart paper, and I'm just going to cut it so that some of the white backing, it's kind of got a white core, so some of the white core shows up, and I'm going to put that straight down onto the paper. And I have some of it sort of overlapping a bit for some interest, Then I have the waves that I cut from my silhouette. I know I don't need the whole thing, so I'm just going to cut some off. And then to make that stand out more, I'm going to use, I want to bring in some of the greens from the coral that's in the paper. So I'm going to use the Seafoam Color Shine Spray from Heidi Swap. And then as well, I have these chipboard pieces. So I'm going to start playing around with some of the placement. Now you'll see these chipboard pieces are brown. They're raw chipboard, but I'm going to turn them into something glittery and beautiful that are going to just make this page. So stay tuned for the bonus footage at the end where I show you how I go about doing that. Then the cruising word, I don't want to be just white because it's going to be up against the white background. So again, with that, I use the Color Shine Spray in navy blue and let that dry. And so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually do something. I'm going to treat these chipboards, and I'm going to use the Aurora Flakes. So those are glitter flakes. And you'll see that I've already done that, and I've got them placed down now, along with a few embellishments. Again, stay to the end so that you can see how to actually put the glitter flakes on, or how I do it. I don't have a lot of embossing powders. I know a lot of people do chipboard embossing with, I think it's by Ranger. And you can ink them up and then put the embossing powder on, and then that will give them some color. I don't have a lot of embossing powders. The only one that I have is really sort of a chocolate brown for when I do gears and things like that for layouts with my husband. But when I got these Aurora Flakes, I realized like these are going to be the perfect thing to go on the chipboard. So I'm going to get them in multiple colors, believe me. But for now, I've used the blue and the silver, and they're really, there's the sparkle, like you can't even tell on the page here when you're looking at the camera at exactly how gorgeous these things turned out. But so what I'm doing right now is I'm taking the sticker sheet from Seize the Day from the collection and just adding some of the stickers that are there. There's the some of them I've popped up onto dimensional foam. Some of them I've just taken the sticker words and put them around the page, like the In Paradise, which couldn't have been more appropriate. I love this little one that says Happy Place, so I've got that up at the top now. The little starfish are just cute. So you'll see that what I'm doing is, for the most part, I'm doing 3 embellishment clusters. So I've got one cluster that's going to be up the top left of the 4x6. I've got one cluster that's going to be going near this Today is a Good Day die cut. And then I've got the cluster that is going to be at the bottom right with the sticker that says In Paradise. So I have these are glitter gems. They're Satan crystals from Prima Marketing that they brought out many years ago that went with their they had a, what would you say, a mermaid kind of a collection that they released. I can't remember the name of it. If I do, I'll put it down in the description box. So I wanted to put those down on the page just for some added glitz again. Now I'm going to be looking at the sticker sheet again to just see if there's anything else that I think I want to put down. The sticker sheet is full of some really large stickers, and they're just not going to work for me for this, but there are some really cute ones. You know, the little starfish are really adorable. The words are really appropriate. The sand dollar, of course, I had to put on there because I just love that as well. And now what I'm going to do is I'm using some of the, I got some sequins in a marine, kind of a marine pack, and they're so adorable. They've got these little seashells, and the colors of them are just gorgeous. So I grabbed some of the seashells, and I'm just gluing those down on the page, adding those to the embellishments. There's some other gorgeous sequins. There's a whole variety of sequins, pinks, purples, there's stars in it as well. But I'm just grabbing different ones to put down. And I'm going to put down some more of these Prima Marketing Satan crystals as well. They're just so pretty. I love them. And I bought multiple packs of them because they've now been discontinued. And they're kind of, they're a very different sort of enamel dot. They're kind of like they've got like that sugar coating sort of texture to them, which is really kind of pretty. So I use them mostly in the yellow and the light greens to bring out the yellow that's in the papers as well. And then I found a tag in my collection, and I've just put some twine that matched the colors. There's the red, mint, and white on the tag strings, so thought that would go really well. So I'll add my journaling later. And then, of course, you know, you need to add a little something extra. So I looked around in my stash for cheesecloth, which I've always used in the past as being sort of, it looks like fishnetting. But for me, canvas and fishnetting always sort of seems to be like a marine kind of a feeling for me. So I found these Maya Road canvas tags in my stash. And so I'm going to use this one here. I'm going to, rather than waste all the bit, I'm going to cut it in half and then place it next to the red sticker there that says "In Paradise." Tuck that out of the photo. And again, there you can see why I have the photos popped up onto dimensional squares, because then I can tuck in the tags and just kind of play around with embellishments, and I'm not limited. So I've got this extra one that I'd like to throw on as well, and I find a perfect little spot up at the top corner. So I'm actually going to pull up this Happy Place sticker and pull up the photo a little bit and tuck that tag right down so that it actually peeks out from underneath that shell. And I think it added whatever I needed in that corner, just to kind of draw the eye back up to that corner. So I really liked the effect that it gave me there. So now I'm just kind of evaluating if I want anything more. And I need something that's going to just kind of, I don't know, pull it all together. And what do you think that I grab for? Anytime that I have to pull together stuff, I'll grab a little bit more bling or enamel dots. So I'm going to put some extra sequins down, just in an aqua color. They're just really pretty. And I have to get, you'll see that I'm using some tweezers, and I'm just grabbing what I need and then dotting them onto my glue that's kind of sticks out of my glue bottle. You know how they always bubble up. So I'm using that. But I've noticed that a lot of people are using some kind of a pen that grabs small pieces, small embellishments. If you use one of those, can you drop that down in the comments for me? Because I'd really like to get myself one of those. I think they look so much easier than what I'm doing. So I'm just going to grab a few of those shiny aqua kind of embellishments and throw those down on the page as well. And then once I've got that, then I'm going to grab my Heidi Swap shine spray again, color shine spray in the navy blue. And again, I'm just going to throw some splats around the page. One thing that always ends up tying a page all together for coherency is just having some splats around the page in the same color, and it just kind of, it has an effect of kind of throwing it all together and bringing it all together. So I'm just doing a little bit here and there, just getting some light things. Then I'm going to dip it back in, and I will put down larger dots of color where I want to have, a real, shot of that navy blue shine spray. And that color shine spray adds like a little glimmer to itself, and it's just kind of, because I've thrown that on and the cruising word is the same in the navy blue, it just kind of ties it all together. So I've got some navies, I've got some royal blues that are in the shells, and then I've got some aquas and some mints and things, so it's just going to tie it all together. So I'm just going to take one last look at it and see if that's what I'm happy with. And yeah, I think I am pretty much done with this. Now stay tuned, I'm going to give you some close-ups because you really can't get a good look at these seashells from this particular angle. But here's the glitter flakes. This is the effect that they give you on this chipboard. They're glowing. They're just so gorgeous. And the nice thing is that you can choose how much of the color versus how much of the silver you want. So here's how you apply those. So first you're going to need some glitter glue. So the one that I'm using here, I don't think I stuck it on camera. This is by Cosmic Shimmer, so it's the same company, and it is flake and glitter glue. And I'm using the Aurora Flakes in the blue. And once I apply the glue using a sponge onto the raw chipboard, and then you're also going to use that same sponge, dip it into the Aurora Flakes, and then push it and press it down onto your chipboard. Once you've done that, then I use a foam brush to just brush away any flakes that could be sort of not glued down properly, and to dust out areas that are supposed to be clear. And doing that as well brushes the silver and sort of burnishes it better onto the chipboard, and then it doesn't come off. And you'll see I always use a pizza box for this because you don't want this glitter going everywhere. Everybody knows glitter will end up everywhere in your house if it doesn't stay contained. So I always try to do it inside a pizza box, and the same with my spraying. You'll see that I've got the word cruising there from where I sprayed the navy. And pizza boxes are a dime a dozen, so you know it's a great thing to use in your craft room. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial on how to apply the glitter flakes, and also enjoyed the process video of how to recreate this layout. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe to my channel and stay tuned for my next video. Have a good one!